Good evening, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to our ongoing webinar series. My name is Dr. Aparna Bhanushali. I head the scientific initiatives at Haystack Analytics. Our title for today's webinar is A Novel Approach for Diagnosis and Management of Drug-Resistant Tuberculosis Case Studies. Can I have the creatives, please? Varun, can we please have the creatives?
Ma'am, actually, Ranjan was going to share.
Okay, can you share the creatives?
Okay.
He is sharing. Sorry for the technical glitch. We will continue. So our title for today's webinar is A Novel Approach for the Diagnosis and Management of Drug-Resistant Tuberculosis with Case Studies. Now, if you look at the alarming statistics of drug resistance, it is indicated that of the 4,65,000 people who are suffering from drug resistance, almost 50% are from India. And the National TB Elimination Program misses 10% of the drug-sensitive cases, but almost 50% of the drug-resistant cases. And this calls for a novel, if we have to end TB by 2025, it calls for a novel approach. It calls for innovative state-of-the-art technologies to diagnose and manage drug-resistant tuberculosis. So with that, we will start with the session. This webinar is a collaborative effort by Haystack Analytics and Thyrocare. Haystack Analytics is a tech company. We're incubated in IIT Mumbai and supported by the Department of Science and Technology, by the Society for Innovation and Enterprises, and entrepreneurship, as well as by the BIRAC. This webinar is also a collaborative effort by Thyrocare Technologies. Now, Thyrocare Technologies needs no introduction. Under its Focus TB brand, it aims to get quality and affordable diagnosis, brings across quality and affordable diagnosis to all the patients and the clinicians who require it. So the agenda for today's webinar is, we will first have a talk by the chief guest speaker today, Dr. Anil Kumar Singhal. We will then have a presentation by our guest speaker, Dr. Chaitali Nikam, followed by the Q&A sessions. Dr. Anil Kumar Singhal, our chief guest speaker, kindly allow me to introduce him. He has more than 20 years of clinical experience. He is the Chief Medical Officer of BST Mumbai. He has been awarded by the International Lung Organization, WHO Geneva, and the International Union Against Lung Disease Paris, by the USA, IPE Global India, for his contribution to tackling the challenges posed by TB, HIV, and COVID-19. He has been felicitated by CPAA India in association with WHO for his valuable work in the field of tobacco control and prevention. Dr. Chaitali Nikam leads the infectious disease portfolio at Thyrocare Labs. She is a member of the constitution of the National Technical Working Group on Private Provider Engagement under the NACP. She's also a member of the National Technical Working Group on collaboration between NTEP and corporate hospitals and laboratories. She has more than 38 publications in peer-reviewed journals. With that, we will start with our webinar, and over to you, Dr. Singhal. Just a few ground rules for the Q&A session. Kindly put all your questions in the chat box, and we will try and answer them as much as possible within our time frame. In case we are unable to do so, we will be reverting via mail. Alternatively, you could also raise your hand, and we will try to accommodate the questions. So over to you, Dr. Singhal, and we can start with your talk.
Good evening, respected seniors and my colleague. as we all know that, and as you right, Dr. Bhanushal has rightly said that, since the tuberculosis was discovered long back in the 24th March 1882 by Sir Robert Cox, most of the developed country has control is rampant course, but India still struggle to control it. In fact, India continue to remain at the top in the list of the high burden TB countries. Plus, there is a mortality is very high. For every 3 minutes, 2 people are dying in India on account of tuberculosis. And in last 2 to 3 decades, the drug-resistant tuberculosis has become a major challenge and greatly complicating the TB management for individual patient cases, and it also creating is a major hurdle for control of tuberculosis at the public health system level. The present treatment, whatever treatments are available, they have like they require numerous drugs, and they require to take for prolonged duration, and most of them have a significant adverse effect. Despite despite being despite having an effective and an appropriate treatment, the mortality of drug-resistant tuberculosis is very high, and is have a great contribution for high mortality or overall high mortality of tuberculosis in our country, in India. Is definitely undoubtedly is very highly contagious disease, and it is said that RO of DRTB is 14. That is, one patient it is spreading to almost 14 another 14 people in his contact. So, for a favorable treatment outcome for individual patient perspective, and for stick of the spread of drug-resistant tuberculosis as on a public health system level, it is utmost necessary to diagnose it as early as possible. So I will take opportunity to share my experience, how I used to treat, or how we used to treat to treat or diagnose the cases with the drug-resistant tuberculosis 10 years back. I will explain it with one of the cases. That is, she was a 40-year-old female, and she was living with the insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. She had a symptomatic for more than a month, and she was treated by a family physician with lots of antibiotics and all. So after 1 month, he was advising her X-ray, which suggested of tuberculosis. Therefore, the patient was referred to me. As a matter of practice, I asked for a sputum smear examination, and which turned out to be a negative. But because she was suffering from, she was having insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus and a symptom of more than 1 month, I started on a first-line anti-TB drug. At the end of intensive phase, that is at the end of 2 months, there was no clinical or a radiological improvement in the symptom. So as a matter of practice, I always send a sputum for smear as well as the culture examination. But at the end of 2 months, there was no improvement, but the culture grew and to be complex. And so we definitely asked for the DST, which another took 2 to 3 weeks. So at the end of 5 months of her symptom, we could able to start her on appropriate treatment. And so the DST shows that she was suffering from MDR tuberculosis. So we treated her, and we regularly follow up her with a sputum smear examination and a culture. And we treated her for almost 2 years, and she was completely cured and become all right. Symptom-wise, she started gaining weight. There was radiological as well as the microbiological improvement. So this was a scenario how we used to treat DRTB cases 5 years back. So the moral of the story is that in a 10-year back, at least after the patient come to the clinician or a TB specialist doctor like me, there were around 3 months and for required to diagnose and to start a patient on appropriate treatment. So in last 10 years, there are lots of new tests have come, which will bridge the gap between the smear examination and the culture DST. Of course, the first we used to do the smear examination, but that can be diagnosed tuberculosis as fast as within 2 hours, but it required the concentration of the bacilli in a sputum is around 10,000 per ml. Then we have come with the CBNAT, or we say that the gene expert. It can again diagnose tuberculosis in 2 hours, but it can give only the R-resistant pattern only. Beside that, it can detect the dead bacteria also. Then come the line probe assay, which can detect the sensitivity or resistant pattern of INH and rifamycin only at the end of 3 to 4 days. Thereafter, we can have the line probe assay line 2, which can diagnose XDR-TB, but only two medicine or 2 drugs, that is Flunolone group of medicine and a second line injectable medicine. Now the latest that they can, so in short, the LPA can diagnose only 4 medicine, the sensitivity of only 4 medicine, but now newer technology also added 2 more medicine. So in short, at the end of 1 week, we will have the sensitivity pattern only up to 6 drugs. So again, even after the 10 year, we are to have a complete DST of 13 drugs. We still require to, we still depend upon the culture DST, which take at least 6 to 8, sorry, please take it as 6 weeks, not 6 days, 6 to 8 weeks for a complete DST of 13 drugs. So with that, I'll come to my same case. So who came to me once again after 10 years with the symptoms of 2 weeks. Again, the X-ray shows the new lesions. And this time, instead of wasting time, I sent the sputum for TB whole genome sequencing. And I'm happy to say that I was able to get the diagnosis of the XDR tuberculosis with a complete sensitivity of 17 drugs within 2 weeks or within 2 days after she is visited to me. So this is the report which shows that how the TB whole genome sequencing reporting system, which I've sent to Thyrocat. And in short, we could able to start appropriate treatment to her within a month of her symptom. So this is a 10-year difference, how we used to diagnose 10 years back and how we used to diagnose after the 10 years. So if you see the scenario of 2011 and 2021 of the same patient, so the duration of that is 2011 with the smear, culture, and DST, and 2021 by the TB whole genome sequencing, you can very well see that the duration of starting treatment or diagnosis after she visited to me was just 3 months. In the 2011 it was 3 months, whereas in 2021 it is just 2 weeks. Again, the smear, the culture DST required the routine LPG culture and all. But here, no culture is required. Plus, the report system, like patient has to require to visit multiple times for the report in 2011. That is first for the smear, then culture at the end of 3 weeks, then at the end of 6 weeks, then they would pay for DST, and then the final report come at least after 6 to 8 weeks of the sending the sample for examination. Now here, we are available at only 1 step, only it is hassle-free. At 1 test, the patient can get the diagnosis as well as a complete DST. If you see that when the culture is required, definitely the cost will be very high. In 2011, the patient has paid 10,000 rupees to a lab for smear examination, thereby culture examination, and thereby the 13 drug DST level. Whereas in 2021, with the TB whole genome sequencing, the patient is required to pay only 3,200 rupees to have a complete DST profile, and we can start. So now the patient is on as per the DST level, the TB home genome. So the same patient now she shows lots of improvement, clinical, radiological also. We are waiting for the on treatment the TB culture report. Hopefully, it will become negative. So in short, what is the tuberculosis whole genome sequencing testing? It is a WHO recommended test for comprehensive diagnosis of tuberculosis, drug-resistant tuberculosis, and its drug-sensitivity pattern. As I said, it can detect the mutation without the culture. Well, and as we all know that the tuberculosis bacilli is a slow growing bacilli. Therefore, the culture takes at least 6 to 8 weeks to grow. As it doesn't require culture, it will save the time of diagnosis, and which is very crucial when we are approaching or we are managing the patient with drug-resistant tuberculosis. Then, as it again doesn't require a culture, so the cost is also effective. Therefore, in culture, the test the cost is around 10,000 rupees, whereas in TB whole genome sequencing, the cost is just 3,200 rupees. And as I said, it requires a minimum visit, like one at the time of giving the sample, and second at the time of getting the report of complete DST pattern, that is at the end of 2 weeks. Whereas in culture, require multiple visits for the culture, then DST and all. So in short, this is most comprehensive test for early diagnosis of drug-resistant tuberculosis with sensitivity pattern. So this is a testing algorithm and a management algorithm which we are following even today also. That is, you ask for the gene expert, sputum for gene expert, or any specimen for gene expert, then LPA1, LPA2, then culture DST. On depending upon the sensitivity pattern, we treat them accordingly. Like there are many cases with the H monoresistant, then the R resistant or oral regimen, then a short regimen with without bedaquiline, the long regimen with bedaquiline. Now I have heard that now all the regimen will be even short, long will be off with the bedaquiline only. So this is the algorithm which we are following at for managing tuberculosis. So that's very important, and it's a very simple tech, but it requires lots of follow-up, lots of detailed examination, the testing, and before we start on appropriate treatment as per the DST pattern. So I am also holding a post of Chief Medical Officer of BST. In last 10 years, we have worked, and our work at a workplace intervention on tuberculosis, which has been appreciated, acknowledged, and documented by Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, the Central TB Division, the International Union Against TB, United States Agency for International Development, and also by the electronic and print media. So with that, I suggest that to participate or to fulfill our ambitious goal of our Prime Minister to end tuberculosis by 2025, we should investigate thoroughly any patient who are having a cough or a symptom like for symptom of tuberculosis for more than 2 weeks. So particularly, we should definitely investigate or rule out tuberculosis in the patient who are living with diabetes mellitus, who are smoker, who are having retroviral diseases, who are immunosuppression medicine, or who are having a chronic kidney diseases. And in fact, I also strongly recommended to investigate or rule out the tuberculosis in a post-COVID scenario. I have just examined, or rather I examined 525 cases who have been suffered from the moderate to severe form of COVID. And out of these 521 cases, when I checked for sputum examination, 10 had found with the tuberculosis. Luckily, all of them have had a drug sensitivity, like a drug sensitive patient. None of them have a DRTB. So I also suggest that whenever patient comes to you with the post-COVID pattern or post-COVID cases, and they had a pneumonia and they have become symptomatic, we must rule out tuberculosis as early as possible. Then, as a matter of practice, definitely ask for smear examination, CB-NAT, LP, and culture DST. But for early diagnosis, I suggest and recommend that we should start asking for TB whole genome sequencing, because I said that it can diagnose as early as within 2 weeks. It's very cost effective. It's available with just 3,200 rupees, and it can be as it is SLP diagnostic technology and is WHO recommended. With that, I thanks a lot for a kind for listening to me. And if any question, let me know on my chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singhal. That was a wonderful presentation where clearly you highlighted that how precision medicine has come into infectious disease and how by using the latest innovative and WHO recommended technology, you have started your patient with the right treatment at the right time, which is, the span that has completely from 3 to 6 months, it has now got shortened to 2 weeks. And then it was very interesting. The report that you shared, it showed that the patient was pre-extensively drug resistant. And so now he or she would require the kind of regimen which otherwise would have, it would have been an empirical treatment. But thank you so much, Dr. Singhal. That was an excellent.
I want to highlight one more thing about that patient. The patient is a lady and she's just staying in a single room complex. Like in Mumbai, is a 1 RK room facilities available with a poor ventilation and 2+2 husband, wife, and 2 children. So in such scenario, the early diagnosis is very important, particularly in DRTB, to prevent spread amongst their family members. So this technology will really help to even to spread of the disease also. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to Thyrocare, Hashtag, and Focus TB for inviting me and giving me opportunity to share our experience on DRTB management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Singhal. With that, I will ask Dr. Chaitali to please start with her presentation. Over to you, Dr. Chaitali.
Thank you, Dr. Aparna, for introduction, and thank you, Dr. Singhal, for such a lovely presentation and wonderful difference you have shown between the decades. And it would be really helpful for the doctors or the physician who are attending it, just to have, shown a paradigm shift in the reporting 10 days back and now, and it's really impactful. So at the end of this session, and in my talk, we can summarize the impact of detection of TB whole genome sequencing on TAT and affordability. So as we all know that TB diagnosis is so important, and majorly MDR TB is why? Because to treat it effectively. And MDR treatment success and survival rate of the patient is associated with the drug selected, combination of drugs, and duration of the treatment, as few of the drugs are toxic and the duration cannot be extended. So what does the algorithm says, as in most of the NTP patients who are DRTB? So this is the algorithm basically which is followed in all the states to treat TB. And I would like to highlight baseline over here is whether you have to go for a second line probe assays or a detection of any of the culture DST, smear positive. If you can see here it has been mentioned, it should be smear positive samples can be subjected directly. Otherwise, we have to go for a culture. And once culture grown up, then only we can go for a LPA as well as the DST. So main thing what I have to highlight over here is, if smear status is absent and if that patient or the sample takes long time to grow, then the culture takes 3 to 6 weeks to grow, and there will lapse the patients basically for the treatment. So in this algorithm, there are few tests which are mentioned and on which we are treating the patients. So this treating the patient on the report of this sample. So I'm just taking you quickly what this test indicate and what resistance it gives for. So first and foremost is GeneXpert. And it is basically a different combination or the integration of different technologies in real-time format. So it works on the microfluidics technology, use the TB-DNA sequence for 81 base pair RDRP region, and based on the molecular beacons technology. At the end of the assay, it gives the detection of TB as well as rifampicin resistance. Second one is line probe assays. So if you can see for the algorithm which shows over here is a lengthy, because you have to extract the DNA, then PCR, and then reverse blot hybridization on the strip. So here it requires the molecular analyst or the biologist to perform the test and to read the strip, that is for the interpretation of results. One main thing which I have to highlight over here is when anyone start production of this or any manufacturers, so eventually they start doing changes in the layout of the strip. So for example, this is one example which I'm showing you. When they have launched second line drug resistant strip, for fluoroquinolones detection, only Gyrase A region was incorporated, and for second line injectables, RRS region is incorporated on the strip. As evolved, as there are other targeted region as known for fluoroquinolones or aminoglycosides or second line injectables, eventually they have standardized or came up with another strips which have been incorporated along with the Gyrase B locus, and for aminoglycoside they have included EIS promoted locus on the strip. So main thing I have to highlight here is whatever targets have been designed in the initial days have changed after a few years, just because researchers or the manufacturers come to know as there may be a mutation on second targets as well. So all these two targets I highlighted here are the targets which manufacturer has introduced later. So this is the main thing to consider when there is a targeted genotypic DST technologies. There is always a room for if we can miss anything in the results. So when it comes along with the results, there are two types of resistant genetic marker. One is high confidence and one is low confidence. So high confidence is missing, but they are too sure that they can probably replace DST, and here are few out of those. And low confidence, we check specific quantitative DST with MIC. So here are few which shows that there is a low confidence genetic markers. So based on the mutations here, based on the absence of wild type and presence of mutation here, this low cost and low confidence and high confidence genetic markers are defined, and while reporting we need to give this on the report format. Then it comes to the phenotypic DST, yes, which is still the gold standard in TB diagnostics, and it comes along with the lengthy technologies. So first and foremost thing is decontamination of the sample. Once we got the inoculum, we need to grow it on a solid or liquid culture. Solid culture is algae, liquid is midget. It takes 3 to 6 weeks to grow after classical identification or by molecular methods, and then it goes for the DST. So basically, it is a gold standard, and it is a gold standard for DST for TB diagnostics so far. But we can't overlook few of the limitations of this, and those are origin of resistant and interpretative criteria I will know, dosage and stability of the incorporated compound, antimicrobial activity of the incorporated drug, and interpretation of result and data of reporting. Also, the inoculum of discrepancies between DST and performed on midget and no wild type molecular assay. Also, it has been observed that there is an occurrence of discrepancies between DST performed on solid versus liquid culture and molecular assays. So, there is always a room for errors when we compare phenotypic DST with genotypic DST. And the reasons are the same as mentioned earlier. There is a low confidence and silent mutations in genotypic DST. So these are the error rates, and it's a great publication from PLOS One by Nikolayevsky, where they have studied. If you can see this is the red bars have denoted phenotypic DST. Blue bars are denoting DST on culture using molecular tools, and green bars denoting DST on crude extract using molecular tools. So if you can see, this error rate varied substantially between drugs, and PZA found to be more error prone, followed by amikacin and ethambutol and streptomycin. Whereas the proportion of incorrect result for another second line drugs, fluoroquinolones and kanamycin, and was lower and similar to that of first line drugs of rifampicin and isoniazid. This can be seen over here. So it shows that there is lots of scope of improvement for all drugs except few of them when we are comparing this with phenotypic DST and genotypic DST. Also, not every genotypic modification of drug resistance which is associated with gene affect phenotypic resistant equally because of silent mutation or MICs. Also, borderline or low-level resistant is strongly associated with treatment failure cases. So you need to note all these things when we are comparing the genotypic DST with phenotypic DST. This is the diagram is from a recent publication which has been published by CID-MPH from New South Wales, Australia. And it has been just accepted in IGID in August 2021. So here it is showing that the arrows which are here, so this is addition gain in detection of drug resistance using whole genome sequencing for rifampicin, isoniazid, paralidomide, and ethambutol. And this is for lineages for Beijing, East African Indians, that is EAI, and European Americans, EA, and Delhi caste. So arrows demonstrate over here the additional percentage of drug-resistant mutations detected by whole genome sequencing compared with probe-based WHO recommended molecular testing. Here it is probe-based molecular testing is nothing but LPA to lineages and 4 first-line drugs, that is rifampicin, isoniazid, paralidomide, and ethambutol. So in this axis, you can check the percent change in drug resistant detection by whole genome sequencing. So if you can see here, this this is showing the diagnostic accuracy of whole genome sequencing compared to PDST. Also, if you can see the dashboard bar over here in ethambutol, so it is represents the additional gain in detecting ethambutol resistance using whole genome sequencing compared with line probe basis, which was there on the firstly manufacturer strip. So it's clearly indicating if there is a mutation which is not lying on the targeted region, which gives you the more gain as compared to targeted region in whole genome sequencing. This is another publication which state that there is the associated genes and which are not associated genes. So for example, isoniazid on line probe basis or in targeted, most probably CADG and INHA. These 2 genes are targeted, which gives most probable mutations. But there are 2 more genes that is AHPC and promoter region of FABG1. So this is study which is carried out on around 280 samples, which shows that there are around 54 samples which has shown the mutation not on targets but beyond targets, and then it has been seen that there is a discrepancy in the reports. Also, for majorly targeted region for rifampicin resistant is RPO beta, whereas there are few that is, which lies beyond RPO beta region is RPO beta C. So there are around 12 isolate which is not lying the resistant on RPO beta region. Same for few of those can be seen here. As Dr. Singhal has already said, it has been approved and by WHO, and it has been already there in the guidelines of PMDT in India in March 2021, and which says that NGS has the great potential for rapidly diagnosing drug-resistant TB in diverse clinical reference laboratory settings. The NGS approach overcomes many of the significant challenges associated with conventional PDST testing, as well as the limitation of other less comprehensive molecular tests by providing rapid, detailed sequence information for multiple gene regions or whole genome interest. And that can be used for detection of genomic sequence variant to predict TB drug-resistant phenotype. So it is already into the guidelines, which is published by Government of India, RNTCP and TP by PMDT in March 2021. So there is a huge need of TB whole genome sequence, which diagnosed rapidly shows the exactly affecting MTB, including its complete drug-resistant profile, and thus allows clinician to identify the best treatment regimen to combat the disease. Also, the implementation of TB whole genome sequencing, that is TGS, will benefit the NTP, providing data for surveillance of resistance to different anti-TB drugs and important information for high burden countries to set TB control strategies and priorities. So taking it above all facts in consideration, we at ThyroCare launched TGS, that is ThyroCare, that is TB genome sequencing with partner with Haystack. ThyroCare is commenced 25 years back with the focus of quality, speed, affordability with same goal. We have started Focus TB, the division which is focused on TB diagnostics, and we have launched TGS 3 months back with Haystack. This is the simple slide which is showing the difference in between all the technologies which is currently used in the algorithm and TGS. So first test which goes into algorithm is GeneXpert, that is a CBNAT, which gives the result for one antibiotic, and turnaround time is said to be 24 hours, but is always higher on the field. Second test used, that is a line probe assay, which gives the information about the targeted mutation for first or second line group of antibiotics under LPA. In first line, it uses two drugs, rifampicin and isoniazid. And in second line, it gives you the information about the group of antibiotic, that is aminoglycosides and fluoroquinolones. Turnaround time for this is 4 to 5 days. Again, please remember, mostly for second line drugs, company recommends to use smear status positive sample. If not, you have to grow the culture, and on that culture, you need to perform the line probe assay. In that case, that will be delayed, that you can release the report after culture grown and after 2 days by performing line probe assays on that. For whatever samples coming resistance in LPA goes for culture DST. So that is for, in algorithm, there are only 3 antibiotics, but for privately, you can do 12 to 14 antibiotics. And the turnaround time for this is 3 to 6 weeks. It's totally depending on the growth of the culture. If any contamination happens, then this 3 weeks can, 6 weeks can be delayed further. If culture doesn't grow, then we cannot perform DST. TB whole genome sequencing with 18 antibiotics. If smear status is positive, we can give you a report in 12 to 15 days. And other information which can be available with this report is strain identification, any mixed or co-infection. We have launched this test barely at minimum at the 3,000 rupees. So there is a huge cost difference or benefits to the patient from this test in accordance with the antibiotic covered as well as the cost. So benefits are, it's a comprehensive. It can indicate or gives information to the clinician for the right treatment to the patient at the right time. It is as having quicker TAT, and it's affordable. This is a paradigm shift of a genomic reporting, which I was discussing earlier. So here you can see that results are coming in very similar way as a gene expert, which is really easy to understand to the clinician or as well as to the patients. So antibiotics highlighted in red are the antibiotics where mutation conferring drug resistance is detected, whereas antibiotics which are highlighted in a green are the mutation conferring are the antibiotics where mutation conferring drug resistance is not detected. Beside this, on the first page of a report, you will get the 18 antibiotics line along with the presence of drug resistant mutation detected or not detected. With this, we'll give you the percentage coverage and strain identification and also clinical recommendation whether any other mixed infection or pathogen is detected here or not. So this is the paradigm shift in the reporting of a genomic testing, where clutchy or cluttered antibiogram is not given and report has been given in the simplest way where anyone can understand this report. So TGS at ThyroCare and FocusTB, we have designed for safer side. As you can imagine, the technicians who are working on the culture are really, as compared to DNA, DNA is safer for them and it's safer to handle the lab team. If it comes to the automation by using liquid handler system, we can use it for from extraction to the preparation and the library preparation for the same. There is a real-time digital data can be fetched from the LIS and that can be forwarded into Nikshay ID portal, which is useful for the NTP or RNTCP providers to track the patient for their antibiogram anytime at any place. In a nutshell, it is a one-stop source of curated genotypic and related metadata from MTB strains. We are transitioning using TGS as a standard method for TB diagnostics by providing antibiogram of 18 drugs within 12 to 15 days and at affordable cost. We at FocusTB ThyroCare are already accredited with ISO and government certifications required to complete or fulfill complete algorithm of NTEP. Along with that, we are NABL and CAP accredited laboratory. Thank you for your kind listen and can put your question in chat box if any. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaitali, once again for very nicely showing us the not only about the TB whole genome sequencing and the entire diagnostic modalities and explaining it to us very lucidly the advantages and how ThyroCare has started as an early adopter of this technology and has bought it at a very affordable rate for all the patients, the comprehensive testing. So thank you so much, Dr. Chaitali. So we will now take the questions. I'll just take a couple of questions which we can and direct it to the concerned speaker. So Dr. Chaitali, I think this question you will be able to take. Is the TB WGS facility possible in rural areas?
So definitely we can, because ThyroCare is having their network across the country. So we can provide these services in the rural areas too. Just you need to connect with our team and they can arrange the pickup of the sample to the disposal at the laboratory. So it is very much possible.
Thank you, Dr. Chaitali. The next question is to Dr. Singhal. Dr. Singhal, kindly clarify the symptoms period for diabetes mellitus and RVD to suspect TB. Is Dr. Singhal, I think Dr. Singhal has dropped, probably he's dropped out because of connectivity issues, but we'll answer this question. We'll get back to you on that. So another question is, after completion of DOTS, how much chance is there for relapse and recurrence of TB? Dr. Chaitali, do you want to take that? I think this is a very generic question. After completion of DOTS, how much chance is there for relapse or recurrence of TB?
Yeah, it is a generic question, but chances are too less, but we cannot, say it is nil. There are chances that it can relapse after 1 decade also. There are cases.
Right. So what we will do is we will look at some of the statistics and also get back on the exact statistics in this case, because this is it will vary from relapse and recurrence, where the definition is different, of relapse or recurrence. So both these words indicate two different things, and we will get back to you on those. One of the other questions is that, what about bedaquiline? Is TGS available for this drug? So I will take that question. Yes, the TB whole genome sequencing will give the drug resistance profile across all the 18 antibiotics that are used in TB management. This includes the group A, group B, as well as the group C drugs. In fact, if you would have looked at the report, the patient details which Dr. Singhal had shared also showed resistance to bedaquiline. So that, and the most interesting part is that culture DST is also not available universally for bedaquiline. So the TB whole genome sequencing test will give you what is the resistance profile across bedaquiline, across linezolid, pretomanid, and which are the newer drugs. Dr. Chaitali, you would want to add to this?
Yes, so 18 drugs which has been, we are telling since the beginning, are the drugs which has been already incorporated into algorithm like bedaquiline, delamanide, titunamide. For all these drugs, till now, phenotypic DST or the concentration is not available, and all these DSTs are happening at NRL. So once it will become to IRF, then phenotypic DST may possible. But before that, we are incorporated it into the whole genome sequencing, and we are reporting it based on the data which is available into the pipeline of whole genome sequencing.
Okay, so there is one question by Dr. Suresh Das. Is the TGS test by Thyrocare certified by CTD to be accepted in PMDT guideline for diagnosis and treatment? If yes, can it be collaborated with the state TB cell? Dr. Chaitali, you want to answer, or should I take this question?
No, I'll answer this, Dr. Aparna. Yes. So, doctor, we had already given presentation to NTP and few of the members from Union and CTD. And definitely there is a question of the technology used, and there are lots of brain-autonomy station already happened with the government on this. And yes, we are waiting for the note from NTP or from the CTD. And as if we get the green signal from them, definitely it will be incorporated in the algorithm. But right now, government or NTP haven't given any note to this test, as they might be in the discussion, because we have given presentation almost 1 or 1.5 months back.
Yeah, I would also like to add that the PMDT in its guidelines, if you look on page 21 about whole genome sequencing, it has very clearly indicated that whole genome sequencing is the preferred technology. It can be used for detecting for determining drug resistance. It can be used for surveillance and for epidemiological measures. Interestingly, the only reservation has been, not even reservation, some of the concerns have been about the availability of the technology, about availability of the bioinformatics aspect, and the infrastructure, or the the manpower or the intellectual abilities which are required for the bioinformatics aspect. And I think Thyrocare and Haystack together have overcome all of these limitations, because Haystack as a deep tech company is, it constantly updates the catalog. It has incorporated all the mutations which are indicated by WHO in its 2021 catalog of resistance. And Thyrocare has made both the technology as well as the infrastructure available at a very, very nominal and cost-effective, in a cost-effective way. So, with Dr. Singhal very clearly indicated that 3,000 rupees versus 10,000, which was for culture DST. So, all those concerns have actually been overcome at this point. And in fact, as Dr. Chaitali said, I'm sure that in soon, and we are really hopeful that it will be sooner, that it will be incorporated in the diagnostic algorithm and indicated by the CTD and by the state TB cell to be a part of the diagnostic algorithm and would be certified for the same. We should be all working towards that. What do you think, Dr. Chaitali?
Definitely, Aparna.
So and there's another question which is from Naimikaran. I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. It is Naimi Rakpam Singh. Is rupees 3,000 for TGS of 18 antibiotics?
Yes, it's correct. That is the price which has been given to the partners who are sending samples to the laboratory. So it's really correct. And then it's just we have launched that. So this is the launch price currently. That is a 3,000 rupees per sample.
There are another sample related questions. One of them is, Dr. Chaitali, we should have to send sputum, or can we send EP samples also?
Yes, extrapulmonary samples can be sent, definitely sent, because these are very crucial samples when it comes to EPTB. We are accepting extrapulmonary sample as well, where GeneXpert or any other genotypic DST are not working, but definitely we need good yield of DNA to extract it from the sample and to perform whole genome sequencing. So for extrapulmonary samples, we take time to grow the culture, and if culture grows, then only we can give you the report, same as the GDST. But eventually we are definitely accepting extrapulmonary samples here.
Right. I think the previous question was also the same. So we will, another question is how to go in for extrapulmonary sample collection, transportation, etc. Dr. Chaitali.
So, we are following all universal guidelines for collection and transportation of the samples. So, where sample has been collected is transported according to the guidelines to the Thyrocare laboratories. So, I don't think so there will be any change or escape from the fulfilling criteria of transportation and collection. So, collection is happening at the site, and we are picking up the sample from there.
Yeah, and these would be under, so it depends on, these would be under sterile conditions. If it is biopsy, then it would be in saline, and you have to ensure that you're not formalin fixing the biopsies. And obviously for CSF, these are precious samples, and BAL, they have to be sent under sterile conditions. Anything about the transportation temperature, Dr. Chaitali?
Yes, it is generally transported at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
In cold chain, yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure that a mycobacterial lab, which specimens which have been sent, they follow the same norms. The TGS would also would be following the same norms as is required for any mycobacteriological sample. That is correct?
Yes, absolutely.
I think rest all are a lot of compliments to both the speakers and for the sessions, that they are well planned, well arranged, and the program is good. And also Thanks for a very good program again. So I think with that, we would have concluded most of the questions. We'll again relook in case we have missed any of the questions, and would like to thank everybody for attending the webinar. We look forward to your continued participation, and we will keep you posted about our next in the webinar series. So once again, thank you everybody, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Shaitali, thank you, Dr. Singhal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Singhal, we'll see you soon.